All right, let's see. Get this sound check out. Mic check, mic check. Okay, all good on that. Sound is working. So let's dive in. Oh, one last problem to solve. Got that taken care of. Always forget to turn that dryer off for some reason. All right, so hoping tonight I will not have the sound issues I had last night. It cleared up pretty quick. Yeah, it cleared up pretty quick, but I wish it just wouldn't do it at all. Hmm. Okay, so let's dive in. Harmony Montgomery has been missing for at least 2 years. And if it wasn't for the love that her little brother has for her, we probably wouldn't even know she was gone. Um, I was thinking about that earlier, and that's just crazy. What if Harmony didn't have a sibling who loved her and missed her and was so insistent on being able to give her something for Christmas? Would she have just, with Adam or Kayla or both? Because it's my assumption, not proven fact, but it's my assumption that those two are directly and solely responsible for whatever happened to Harmony. But if it wasn't for the fact that she had a little brother who loved his big sister, would we even know that Harmony had just basically disappeared off the face of the planet? Would Adam and Kayla have just walked away scot free? And it's crazy because they've just been living their lives, as if Harmony didn't matter. Really, like she didn't even exist. What comes to mind is that level of callousness. A post that was made by the monster Lehua Kalua. And she posted something like, if your absence doesn't affect them, your presence never meant anything to them. The timing on her post was all kinds of just jacked up, but that's a whole other can of worms. But it applies here because it seems that Harmony's absence hasn't affected Adam, her father, or Kayla, her stepmother, in the least bit. Kayla just went on collecting benefits for her, you know, profiting from a child who wasn't even there. Adam, he's moved on in his life, in his love life, new girlfriend, living in the park in a car, the good life. And all the while, Harmony is missing. It truly seems as if her absence didn't affect the two people who, at that time, would have been her primary caregivers, the people who were responsible for making sure that her daily needs were taken care of, that her young mind, body was nurtured. But instead, we hear the horror stories of Adam, quote unquote, bashing her around that house. We're hearing horror stories of how a little girl with a black eye was left to suffer more by the police who were called to protect her. She was abandoned by the Protective Services Agency, whose sole, main, and primary job is to protect children from abuse, neglect, hurt, harm, death. It's just, God, it's so frustrating. So, I have been reading and hearing about, mainly about Adam's more shocking crimes. The fact that he shot someone in the face. And I don't know about you, but to me, shooting somebody in the face, you might as well call yourself a murderer, because if you're going to shoot somebody in the face, which is part of their head, seems like you wanted them to die. So I got to digging around, and this article I found very informative. It gave a lot of details about his criminal past. It gives a good look into who Adam was, what type of person he was, the lifestyle that he led. And it opens the door to questions. You know, should he even have been allowed custody of this young child? So let's dive in. This is from Patch.com, Concord, New Hampshire. It says missing girl's father. 16 years of crime in New Hampshire and Massachusetts, more than a decade and a half of terroristic behavior. Adam Montgomery's life of crime, which started as a teen in Bedford, involved weapons, threats, stabbing, and a drug deal shooting too. It is so sad that such a beautiful angel was given to such unworthy people. First paragraph, I'm going to read that. Then we're going to skip on down to the meat. It says when Christine Lubin stood on the doorstep of her apartment on Thursday and lamented her son-in-law and the father of a missing New Hampshire girl police are frantically searching for, was at first quote unquote a sweet guy, but later became pure evil. It was an emotional statement made by a woman with first-hand knowledge of the man her daughter was married to. From a sweet guy to pure evil. Says Massachusetts and New Hampshire shows Adam Montgomery has a long, violent criminal history, often fueled by drugs, dating back to at least 2006, long before Harmony Montgomery, who is 7, one of his 4 children with 2 women, went missing. At 16, while living on Donald Street in Bedford, He reportedly brought a weapon to school in Manchester and was charged with felony possession of a dangerous weapon on school grounds. At the time, Bedford students attended high school in the Queen City. He skipped his court date, which led to police attempting to search for him, according to news reports. So, at 16, 2006, he was bringing guns to school. That would have been after um, school shootings had become a reality. Hi, Tammy. I am so glad to see you, and I'm so glad to be back. I am feeling much better. I'm ready to dive in head first and just get it going for the new year. So tonight I'm talking about Harmony Montgomery's dad, Adam, and his criminal record. And I hope you caught the live last night. If you didn't, you can go back and catch it. I'm also breaking it down into segments for each case, and I've uploaded the first of those, which is Damari Perry. So at 16, Adam was bringing guns to school. This was a time when school shootings had already become a thing, not on the scale that it is today, but definitely a thing. As a matter of fact, I want to see how fresh that was. I know you know that I'm thinking about Columbine. (1999). So this was 7 years after Columbine that he was bringing a weapon to school. So at the time that he was doing this, he was fully aware of the gravity of bringing a weapon to school. He was fully aware of the fact that there had already been at least one known major school shooting, mass casualty. So we can see right there that he doesn't care. All right. Before we get into the next part of his record, let's go ahead because his reward is right here, and I definitely want to get that out there at every chance I get because I feel like it will be the incentive that someone needs to let law enforcement know what happened to Harmony and where she may be. The reward for information about Harmony Montgomery's whereabouts has increased to $94,000 on Friday. Call 603-203-6060 24/7 if you have information about the case. $94,000. That's a lot of money to start the new year with. All right. Says about a year later in July of 2007, Adam was charged with burglary, simple assault, and curfew violation for being on the grounds of another Queen City school. He was accused of following a girl into her home on Plainsfield Street in Manchester after accusing the girl of being in possession of his stolen cell phone on July 5th, 2007. All right, Adam. Got us a real winner here. Adam Montgomery requested another girl he was with to punch the girl he was following, while she did, according to press accounts, with a closed fist to the face. He would enter a no contest plea to the burglary charge, which was dismissed in January 2008. The school the school grounds incident occurred at Northwest Elementary School in Manchester. It is unknown what occurred there or how the charge was resolved. So, about a year after he brought a gun to school, to the high school, correct? He is following, menacing, threatening, and having someone else to physically attack someone who he feels stole something from him. It doesn't say here whether she actually did have his cell phone or not, but since it says that he accused her of having it and it doesn't say that he got it back or that she did have it, I'm going to assume that because it's Adam and he's a piece of crap, I'm going to assume that she didn't have his phone. He was just being a bully and a monster like we know that he is. And we can also see that he's already enlisting uh, female accomplices to help him pull off his crimes. Way back in 2007, then the fact that he was on an elementary school ground, basically up to some devilment. So age don't even get matter to him. He just really don't care. I would like to know what his intentions were, what he was charged with, what the details of the elementary school incident were. So, so far we have a weapons charge, we have a violence charge, and we have a theft charge with the burglary. This dude is barely out of his teens. He ain't even out of his teens. A few months later, Adam was charged with criminal threatening after pulling a knife on a former girlfriend, who was 15 at the time, in Bedford on September 7th, 2007. So now we have a physical threat made to a female with a weapon. This is 2007. We started off in 2006 with the gun at the school. We started off at 2006 with a gun in a high school, and here it is 2007, not even a whole year later, and we're already up to our necks in criminal acts and violence from this guy. Another boy who was also charged with violation of a protective order for coming in contact with the girl. Oh, now that's interesting. He was charged with violation of a protective order. So that means that something happened previously to where this other boy had a protective order to stay away from this girl, from this particular girl. And it's Adam's former girlfriend. So I'm not even going to get into a whole bunch of speculation, but he pulled a knife on his 15-year-old ex-girlfriend. At this time, since he was 16, when he first started getting in trouble, he's about 17 and a half, 18 years old, pulling a knife on his 15-year-old ex-girlfriend, with whom apparently there had been at least one previous incident because this other boy was charged with violating a protective order. Adam Montgomery was held but released on a $5,000 cash bail after pleading not guilty in court in November 2007. His bail was revoked in March 2008, and the next month he pleaded guilty, receiving a year in prison, a portion suspended, and probation. 3 weeks later, prosecutors made a motion to impose the suspended sentence, which was later withdrawn, and a violation of probation charge filed. So 3 weeks later, he was okay. 3 weeks later, they changed their mind. And maybe that signifies that they recognized that the prosecution recognized what they were dealing with, what type of person they were dealing with way back then, and understood that this fairly lenient sentence wouldn't really serve any purpose with him. So maybe they saw that there was a need for a firmer hand, but the fact that it says a violation of probation charge was filed means that he had to break the terms of his probation. You can't just throw in a violation of probation. He had to do something to violate his probation. So that means within 3 weeks of being sentenced, he was already back up to his shenanigans again. On May 6, 2008, Adam Montgomery stabbed another teen in the leg and pushed him out of a moving vehicle in Manchester. Let me read that again. On May 6, 2008, Adam Montgomery stabbed another teen in the leg and pushed him out of a moving vehicle. He was charged with first-degree assault and reckless conduct charges, both felonies. A police prosecutor at the time told the New Hampshire Union Leader the incident was, quote, a drug ripoff of sorts, unquote, with Adam Montgomery believing he was sold fake drugs. The prosecutor called the combination of weapons and narcotics a recipe for disaster. You think? Adam Montgomery was released on a $25,000 cash bail and told the court he had no problem staying away from the victim. So now we are at 2008, May of 2008. First charge was in 2016. So we're not even 3 years out. He's progressed from having a weapon in his possession at school to stabbing someone and pushing them out of a moving vehicle in a drug ripoff. And somewhere in between the two, he's already been to prison. It's crazy. I don't know who this kid is, the newspaper quoted him as saying. In January 2009, the criminal threatening sentence was amended and the reckless conduct charge non prost. In other words, they threw that one out, the reckless conduct charge. And with Adam Montgomery being sent to prison for 383 days, just a little over a year, according to court records. He would also plead guilty to the stabbing charge and was sentenced to 4 years maximum sentence, served concurrent with the amended threat sentence. So altogether, for all of those shenanigans, what he basically got was a 4 year sentence. 4 years max. I don't know how gay time and stuff like that runs up there, depending on states. Some states, man, you could get a 12-year sentence and be up for parole within like 2 years. So I'm not sure how significant a sentence of 4 years would be where he is. I'm gonna look that up though, because it would be good to know. Maybe he was maybe he just didn't care about getting in trouble because he knew that everything was a slap on the wrist or just a couple of days locked up. Drug deal shooting in Massachusetts. 5 years later. So we're now at 5 years after the point that he first got in trouble carrying a gun into a school. 5 years later, Adam Montgomery went to a home on Cedar Street in Haverhill, Massachusetts to score heroin and ended up shooting a man during the drug deal, according to the Lawrence Eagle Tribune. Excuse me a second, I need to take a sip of juice. The babies have brought home something icky from school. And of course, they gave it right to Gigi. On January 14, 2014, police were sent to the home for a report of a shooting. The victim was shot in the chin, and the bullet exited the man's left temple. He was taken to the hospital and later recovered from the shooting. Anytime you shoot somebody in the face, in the head, I think you intend to kill them. There's no way that you don't. During the incident, Adam Montgomery was also shot in the arm. Court records noted the same gun, a 38 caliber Taurus revolver, was used in both shootings. Police called it a drug deal gone bad, according to the report. With Adam Montgomery admitting he went to the home to score drugs and was jumped in an attempted robbery of the $280 that he had. He shot the man, but was dragged out of the building, beaten, and shot outside himself by the men who jumped him. The U.S. Marshal Service later became involved in a search for Adam Montgomery, who was 24 at the time. 24. So 8 years. He's now been on an 8-year spree. They found him in Manchester, and police assisted in arresting him, according to the union leader. He was taken to Elliott Hospital due to pre-existing wounds. Adam Montgomery was charged with armed robbery, armed assault to murder, carrying a firearm without a license, and discharging a firearm within 500 feet of a building in Massachusetts in February 2014. So, in the course of about 8 years, he's gone from simply carrying a gun to physically threatening and enlisting the aid of someone else to physically harm another person, to threatening someone with a knife, to actually stabbing someone with a knife and pushing them out of a moving vehicle, to shooting someone in the face. Months before the shooting, Adam Montgomery began dating Crystal Sorey, and the couple conceived Harmony Montgomery, the missing girl who is now 7, born in June 2014. 9 months before the shooting, Sorey was living on Franklin Street in Haverhill, Massachusetts, mere blocks from the drug deal gone bad. A lien was placed on the home against her and another man, according to records, with a forced entry eviction occurring in April 2013. In September 2014, Adam Montgomery pleaded guilty to the charges and was sentenced to 18 months in prison. Sorey lost custody of Harmony in July 2018 due to substance abuse issues, according to her comments made to Manchester police last month. She also confirmed they both had substance abuse issues during this time. No court information was readily available about Sorey's criminal or drug activity, but she was charged with receiving stolen property, theft by unlawful taking, movable property, and purchasing, etc., alcoholic beverages by a minor in Pennsylvania. All right, and that's pretty much it for the criminal history, except that there are these new charges that Adam has for assaulting Harmony. Excuse me. These kids got me. They brought their germs right onto their Gigi. All right, let's go ahead and read this part. Restraining order at an in-laws. Back in July 2021, Lubin also filed a restraining order against Adam Montgomery. Around 8 p.m. on July 2nd, 2021, her boyfriend accused Adam Montgomery of skulking around their home. After determining that it was him while making eye contact, Adam Montgomery crossed the street away from the home. Lubin accused him of passing back and forth across the street of my home and called the police. While waiting for the cops, her boyfriend spoke to a neighbor who claimed to have seen Adam Montgomery tapping on the windows of their home, a court document stated. Police arrived, spoke to all involved, and advised Lubin to file a restraining order, which she did. 3 days later, while going to get the mail, her boyfriend found a steak knife on the ground near where Adam Montgomery was accused of tapping on windows. Lubin said her daughter, Kayla Montgomery, and her 3 children had been in the home since March 21st, 2021, after leaving Adam Montgomery due to domestic violence on her. Lubin's restraining order was dismissed October 12, 2021. Assault against Harmony Montgomery. So Now we're to the point where we know that he also engages in domestic violence against his wife. So this man is his violence doesn't really have any type of limits. It doesn't matter if you are family, it doesn't matter if you're a stranger, a drug dealer, an ex-girlfriend, his wife, and now we're going to see that it doesn't even matter if you're his own child. Adam Montgomery's family members accused him of assaulting Harmony Montgomery after seeing the child with a black eye in July 2019. Family members and Kayla Montgomery told police they last saw her around October 2019. Adam Montgomery was living in a sober house at the time, she said, and then left the area to live in Maine with a third woman, police said. Sometime after that, they got back together, and at that time, Kayla Montgomery accused Adam Montgomery of telling her that Harmony Montgomery was given back to her mother in Massachusetts. So this just struck me as odd, the phrasing of that, because what Adam is saying is that Kayla's mother, I'm sorry, Harmony's mother, Crystal, came up to New Hampshire and picked her up. Kayla is saying that Adam told her he was driving Harmony down to Massachusetts to drop her off with her mother, Crystal. But here, the way this is phrased, it sounds as if Kayla didn't actually see Harmony. She was only told by Adam that Harmony was with Crystal. So let me read that again. At that time, Kayla Montgomery accused Adam Montgomery of telling her that Harmony Montgomery was given back to her mother in Massachusetts. So is it just me, or does that sound like she didn't actually see Harmony after they got back together? She was only told that Harmony was given back to her mother. Oh, what a tangled web we weave. Kayla Montgomery, state of New Hampshire investigators said was collecting thousands of in food stamps benefits for the missing girl the entire time she was not living with with her or her father, which led to her arrest. Excuse me for a second. Okay, I don't really want to get into Kayla's arrest because yeah, it does sound like that, doesn't it, Tammy? And about his parents, I have no idea. I'm just coming into this case. I'm doing like a lot of like it's like a cram session, studying before your finals tomorrow. And so far, I haven't read anything about his parents. Only bits and pieces about her parents and the restraining order. And this article here has given me the best understanding of that restraining order and that whole situation right there. But one of the questions that popped in my mind when I started to hear that he had this significant, ongoing, long-standing criminal record and how much violence and drug abuse was involved in his life. And I am definitely a pro-parent person for the most part when it comes to protective services because I feel like in a lot of cases, um, it simply takes some resources and some help to get a family to a point where they can successfully raise their children. In the few instances where a family is beyond repair, I am all for uh, fostering and adoption. I just don't feel like it should be such a high priority. But there are cases like this where you have to question the right of a parent to have parental rights. Harmony was taken from her mother And I don't even want to say taken from because her mother voluntarily signed away her parental rights. It was not a case where the state forced her out of her parental rights. Crystal voluntarily gave up her parental rights because of her drug issues. We don't have a whole lot of information about Crystal's criminal background, and it's really not even that important since she was not the person who had custody of Harmony at the time that Harmony went missing. We have not heard any accusations of Crystal physically abusing Harmony or causing her any type of physical harm, only that she had drug issues. So I'm assuming that with that terminology, that denotes that she had experience. Okay, run that background check if you wouldn't mind sharing with me what you find. Um, but I'm assuming that her drug issues would most likely have meant that there was some level of neglect toward Harmony as far as her basic needs, a stable home, clean clothes, food on the table, um, that these things weren't being attended to the way that they should. Possibly missing shots, um, not seeing a doctor as often as she may have needed to, as far as like, well, baby checkups and different things like that. That is, those are issues that can be remediated. You know, a parent can be offered rehab. You would be surprised at the resources that protective service agencies actually have that they can draw from to help families stay together and to avoid adoption and fostering. But as we have learned over the last few months, more than anything, they are financially motivated not to maintain families. They are financially motivated to go for foster care and adoption. Um, but in Adam's case, I question whether a parent with a background like that, I'm still mind blown by the shot someone in the face thing because it takes a whole other level of cold hearted and, pardon my French, but I don't give a fuck to shoot somebody in the face. A headshot is most likely going to be fatal. So if you can bring yourself to raise a gun, point it at someone's head, and pull the trigger, that just says I really don't care about life, my life, your life, anyone else's life. I feel like anyone who could, and I'm going to speak of it as if he murdered that man because I said that was his goal when he shot him in the face. Anyone who could murder someone in cold blood about some dope, you got to be soulless. It's not as if your life was on the line. It's not as if um, you needed to protect your family. You were trying to get dope. So, looking at the escalation of his violence over the years, from the carrying a gun to the stabbing someone and pushing them out of a moving vehicle to the shooting someone in the face, what judge, what caseworker, what guardian ad litem looked at what attorney for the state in family court looked at this man and his record and said, oh, yeah, He's perfectly fine to raise this child. I'm gonna tell you, I had a brief experience with CPS, years and years ago, and, my brother and it ended up being unnecessary, but my brother offered to take custody of my children temporarily. He had a misdemeanor marijuana charge, and for a misdemeanor marijuana charge, they said that he would not be a candidate to have custody of children in a protective services setting, and these were his blood nieces and nephews. Thank God I did not end up needing anyone to get my kids because I don't even think I really trust anybody other than my brother, God rest his soul. But if a misdemeanor marijuana charge can stop someone from temporarily being a caregiver or guardian for a child, how does how does shooting someone in the face, stabbing someone and pushing them out of a moving vehicle, threatening a female with a knife, having a cohort jump another female, carrying guns at school, all this stuff, if a simple misdemeanor marijuana charge can block you from temporarily caring for your nieces and nephews, how in the world does his record add up to okay, get this kid and do whatever you're gonna do? This is a case where someone, and not just one someone, but several someones dropped the ball at every step. Someone should have looked at this and said, no, I don't get it. I don't understand this. I don't understand this at all. He was obviously a clear and present danger to society. So how was he not a danger to this child? And then for we know for a fact that an uncle called the police about Harmony's black eye. So authorities saw this child with a black eye while she was in the custody of this violent career criminal and took his word for it that one of the other kids hit her in the eye with something. Are you serious? When you have an independent adult telling you he hurt that kid, you need to do something. This is crazy. And what really strikes me is that these people, protective services, courts, judges, attorneys, guardian ad litem, all of these people were in a position to have full access, full and free access to his criminal record, to be able to see right there in full living color what type of person he was. And somehow they missed it. But in the few days, the relative drop in the bucket of time that the public has been aware of Harmony's situation, we've been able to go in and find out all this information that says red flag, red flag, red flag, stop, don't do it, keep her away from him. Had they simply had or demonstrated the common sense that the public demonstrates just by looking at his past, had they demonstrated that kind of common sense from the get go, it never would even got to the point where she had a black eye, let alone to the point where she's been missing for 2 years. Thank God this little girl had a baby brother who loved her. Here's the thing, And he is the real hero. He is the real MVP because had it not been for him being so insistent on having some type of contact with his sister, giving her something for Christmas, making noise, my sister, my sister, my sister, we probably never would have known she was missing. True, her mother was making some efforts to look for her, to get in contact with her. But, and I'm not dismissing her pain, accusing her of anything, but the reality is her mother is a long term addict in recovery. There is no guarantee that she ever would have pushed hard enough to get to the point where we realize this baby had been missing for 2 years. Because an addict is subject at any time to say, forget the world, I'm going back over here and do my thing for a little while. Had this little boy not loved his sister so much and been so insistent on having contact, his adoptive parents never would have reached out and tried to make contact with her. Because if it wasn't something that was going to benefit their child, their newly adopted child, they wouldn't have had any reason to pursue it. And I'm glad that he has adoptive parents who love him enough that his wanting to see his sister affected them deeply enough to reach out and make some noise. But when it boils down to it, it was that little boy's love for his mother, for his sister, I'm sorry, that brought her disappearance into view. Exactly, exactly. Ariel's sister took down Kalua's, and now Harmony's sister about to take down Harmony's brother is about to take down excuse me, her father. I only hope and pray that Summer's brothers will be able to take down whomever had something to do with Summer disappearing. I'm gonna get off here. I'm really not feeling too well. I'm sure you can hear it. I am all clogged up. My throat is scratchy. I'm just so gotta love the grandbabies and their germs, and I do. I'll be hugging and kissing them again tomorrow. But thank you for joining me. Thank you for taking the time whenever I'm on to come in and chat with me and listen to what I have to say. I really appreciate that. You're definitely my real true trooper because you are always there. I'm gonna get off of here for tonight. I did upload a video for Damari Harry. It is his segment of the live that I did about Damari, Lena, Harmony, Major, and Ariel. The other children, I'll be uploading their segments as soon as I can get them edited and rendered. So probably over the next 2 days. Happy New Year, and I will see you all next time.